Good afternoon, church family, and thank you for joining us for another episode of I'd Like to Get to Know You. I'm really excited this week because we have a special guest with us. Had we been able to meet in person this past Sunday, one of the wonderful individuals you might have had the chance to meet in our coffee bar is Beth Beaty. Beth, thank you so much for being here. And just so y'all know, Beth helped plant this church with her husband, David Beaty, just over 21 years ago. And Beth, I'm thinking I've been here for about 10 years, and I've heard a lot of your husband's sermons, but I don't know if he's ever shared with us from the pulpit the story of how you all met. And I was wondering, could you tell us how long you've been married for, and just the story of how your relationship came to be?
Sure. In November, we will have been married for 35 years.
Wow,
so
okay.
it's been a long time. And we met at the best possible place to meet your spouse, at church. So I moved to Winston-Salem in about 1981,
Okay.
and he had been here a couple years up to that point. And so one of the first things I did was start searching for a church. And took a little while, but when I found Renolda Church, I knew I'd found my church home, and they had a tremendous singles ministry. And it was actually probably 50-some singles, I guess,
Wow,
that would
that
get
is,
together
yeah.
on Sundays. And they had an awesome Sunday school teacher. David was the teacher of the class.
No kidding.
Yes.
Okay.
And as a result, I do think that the female population of the class might have been a little bit higher than the male population, being that he was the eligible bachelor. And I tease him, and he denies it, but he was the catch, at Renolda. So, but because of that, I didn't even set my gaze that way. So we were friends.
Wow, okay.
We became friends, and it was a great singles group because we did stuff all the time. So, I got to know David pretty well just, in friendship and stuff. And one summer, my mother came up, and we were out having dinner someplace, and David happened to be at the same place, and he came over and introduced himself to my mom. He's always so sweet and gracious. And so when he left, my mom said, "I think he's really nice. I think you should latch on to him," And so, we were such good friends that I knew he'd get a kick out of that. So the next time I saw him at church, I said, "My mother thinks I should latch on to you." And I knew he was kidding. He just laughingly said, that I should wait till the Lord told him to latch on to me. But the Lord did tell him. So we started, he asked me out. Actually asked me over for dinner. He cooked dinner, probably the last time he's ever cooked dinner.
I was going to say, has he ever done that again? No, he did that one time, Mom.
That was in January of 1985. And then,
So you guys did know each other for a while.
Yes, we did, because
Yeah.
I'd been going to the church about 3 years, I think, by the time. And then in July of that year, he proposed, and we got married in November. So
Wow.
Once we started on that path, we'd known each other long enough. We knew that it was the Lord. So,
That's really neat. So 1985.
yes.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to think back to about 21 years ago when River Oaks was founded. So in terms of risk, planting a church is right up there with opening a restaurant.
Yes.
In terms of the success rate. What was your first thought when David came to you and said, I think the Lord might be calling me to plant a church?
Well, I knew, he had been in seminary, and he had done a course where he sort of had designed a lot of the aspect of the course, but it was on church planting.
Yeah.
And it's a very nerve-wracking thing. We'd been at Renolda for a long time.
Oh,
so,
gosh, I can't imagine. Yeah.
It was, you have to think about, well, what's going to happen, or,
Is anyone going to come?
Yeah, are any people going to come? What about the finances of the church?
There's some stability being at Renolda, right?
Yes, yes. And as a matter of fact, I was talking to David the other day, and he had forgotten about this. But the reason I have this is I was going to share, and I don't want people to think the Lord always gives me a scripture for something, but in this particular case, I was reading one morning, and the Lord really spoke to me out of this verse to assure me that, as He led us, to do this, that He was, going to take care of everything. And it's in Deuteronomy 11, 10 to 12, and it says, "For the land that you are entering to take possession of, it is not like the land of Egypt from which you have come, where you sowed your seed and irrigated it, like a garden of vegetables. But the land that you are going over to possess is a land of hills and valleys which drinks water by the rain from heaven, a land that the Lord your God cares for. The eyes of the Lord your God are always upon it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year." And so
Wow.
the Lord, when I read that, I knew the Lord was going to take care of it, that He was going to go before us, and, He would take care of bringing the people, finances, everything. And He has. Greatly blessed.
Wow. And 30 families came with you
Yes.
out of Ronaldo,
Yeah,
which is so...
they did.
That's so neat. Well, David's name might be the only one that's in our staff directory, but I mean, let's just be honest. This is very much a joint venture. If you're married to someone and you say, "Hey, let's do church planting," it requires some teamwork. In fact, my understanding is that our denomination recognizes that it's such a joint venture that if you say, "Hey, I want to be a church planter," well, one, they require you to go to a church planter's assessment course, but not just that, they require your spouse to go with you, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
what was that like when David came to you and said, "Okay, I'd like to plant the church, and oh, by the way, we need to go to this week-long assessment. Not just me, but you need to come with me too, and all these strangers are going to ask you a bunch of questions, and your just entire personal life is going to have to be open to the scrutiny of these strangers."
And honestly, I'm not sure how much advanced knowledge He gave me of some of that. The biggest thing for us, the timing of it, we had small children. And so, that was my biggest concern, was who was going to take care of the kids for a whole week. And but the Lord worked it out. David's mother was able to do that. But, they do ask all kinds of questions. I mean, they want to be sure if they're going to, approve this, church plant, that your marriage is healthy, that, they asked about sex life, they asked about finances, they asked about, everything.
I mean, it's a week long, right? I mean,
yes, it's a week long.
So, there's not, if you're just getting asked questions for a week, there's pretty much no rock that's going unturned, right?
Yes. And, they obviously gave you the opportunity, for privacy when, asking a lot of those questions and stuff. But the biggest thing I remember was they said, they wanted us each to share the gospel with somebody, like somebody from the, the training and stuff, but they wanted to observe you share the gospel. And so I was like, okay.
Wow.
But the Lord had prepared me for that too, because before David and I ever married, he was, even before he was on staff at any church, he taught Evangelism and Explosion at Ronaldo. And so I had done the class many times, and so I had learned how to share the gospel, and so I just had to sort of refresh those skills so that I could.
I've heard about that. It used to be one of those things. I forget who it was. I know who it was. Eric Brummagem, who was also with you in one of the 30 families that helped plant this, told me that he would go out with David, and maybe you were part of it, a couple of this, and then knocking on doors and just saying, "Let's."
We did. We would, each session that we did, people would come in. We would meet weekly for training, and then we would go out. And so, after you had been through the class, you could become a trainer. So I became a trainer too. And so we would take people out and knock on doors to share the gospel. So
that's neat. So the vision cast for the church plant began with you.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Well, obviously David serves in a very visible role on Sunday mornings. He's behind the pulpit. But you have also served this body in a very incredibly faithful way. Since I've been here, you've served in Noah's Ark. So that's at least 10 years. What do you like about ministering to the 4 and 5-year-olds? And how long have you been doing this for?
So when the church, shortly after the church started, when we were still meeting at Forsyth Country Day, that's when I actually got involved in doing ministry with the kids. At that point, it wasn't Noah's Ark. At that point, there was nothing except Kids Rock, which is a phenomenal program. But I observed that there were some kids who just couldn't handle the excitement and the large, crowd and that kind of setting. So
the 4 and 5-year-olds would go to Kids Rock
no,
back then?
this was the older kids. This was
Okay.
actually elementary age kids.
Okay.
So that's how we started having the Sunday school classes that we, I realized that some of these kids weren't comfortable, with going to Kids Rock, and there were some who, had 2 services that they stayed for, and so just to provide something, an alternative for them. So that's when I started working with kids. It was actually the elementary age, and so we started the Sunday school classes. But after we moved into the building is when, I started working with the 4 and 5-year-olds. And at the time, my mother was my faithful helper every week. So the 2 of us were back in working with the 4 and 5-year-olds every Sunday, and we loved it. My mom taught school kindergarten for many years, and so she loved working with kids and stuff. And she did it until she just wasn't able, balance wise to feel comfortable doing it. But there's nothing like being able to get greeted with those hugs from the 4 and 5-year-olds, and when you're out in the coffee bar, somebody will come running over and tap on you and give you a hug, and I just feel like there's so much that they can gain by having somebody consistently in there. Just it makes it more comfortable for them to come on Sundays. They know Miss Beth's going to be there, or whoever is teaching the class, if it's a consistent person. And so, that's my comfort zone, is teaching the little ones. So.
Well, I hear you're also good with the older ones as well. So word on the street, high school students, if you're watching this and you're in need of a math tutor, what I've heard is that you're the person to go to. And this just blows my mind, and maybe it's because math isn't my strong suit, but I'm thinking you didn't used to be a math teacher at a point in time. Weren't you in IT industry maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So one day your kids are older and you think, okay, I'm going to start working part-time. And did it just occur to you that you still remembered how to do calculus? I mean, that is very much a perishable skill over here.
Oh, yes. Well, even though I was a computer programmer, I majored in math when I was in college.
Wow.
And so, because back then, it's been so long ago, back then computer science was, just really getting going. So I had an emphasis in computer science, but that was the profession that I did, was doing that. But as, the kids started getting towards college, and we realized, we really could use some extra income to help with college, I didn't want to go back into programming, and things had changed so much in programming and stuff. And so I started volunteering at the Winston-Salem Street School. I was helping, kids with math, and I thought, well, maybe I could, tutor math. And so I had to study it to refresh my skills. I couldn't just, walk out and
But you did that yourself. I mean, you didn't go sign up for a calculus course.
No, and mostly I tutor pre-calculus and calculus, and but I just, got the books. I bought the books and I refreshed those skills. I mean, being a math major, I took 4 calculus classes, so it was just a matter of drawing it back out. But and I love math, and I've always been the kind of person, when I do some of those logic problems and stuff, and I get the answer, I'm like, yes.
So you the airplane magazine, you go to the back where they have those, you're the person that actually pencils in the answer. Okay.
I do the cryptoquote every day in the paper, and all those things, because I love figuring out stuff like that, and I'm somewhat competitive, so.
All right, so church family, if you are the parent of a high schooler and you're going back virtually, and your child just needs a little help in math, Beth is a great person to go see.
Just give me a call. That'd be great.
Well, you mentioned your mom earlier, and I just want to take a moment and just kind of give testimony to her faithfulness. She has served behind the scenes in so many ways. She's been a blessing to so many people, and not a lot of people would recognize her service because she does it in a way that isn't very flashy, it isn't very showy, but her faithfulness is there in terms of praying for the church.
Yes.
And I think too, like, so when we have summer block party, we do this thing called the volunteer training. And I mean, it's a lot of volunteers. It's maybe like, what, 200, 300 volunteers come. There's been times where I think your mom has made enough cookies for every person to have like multiple cookies. So, I mean, we're talking like trays and trays of cookies, right? Hundreds of cookies she'll make for this.
She's known as the cookie lady. And just for those that don't know, my mom is Betty Hastings. And she's 92 now. She just had her 92nd birthday. And she loves the Lord and faithfully serves him. So she's now in assisted living, so she can't come out, which has been challenging. But, you know, I still try to talk with her and FaceTime her as much as I can every day, you know, to keep up communicating. So, but she's still praying. So.
And I'm sure she's still spending time in the Word.
Absolutely. You know, it's, I know when I call over there a lot of times she'll say, well, I'm doing my Bible study and I'm, you know, so. And she witnesses to people over there, so.
Well, Betty, if you're watching this, we want you to know that you're missed and we really appreciate you. And thank you for the way that you've invested in our church for so many years and are still praying for us. And as we think about prayer, one of the things I admire about you and David is your prayer life, the way that you all pray together. And is there anything that you would just look back in the rearview mirror and you would say, well, these are times where I feel like God has just reminded us of his faithfulness and it's encouraged us in our praying?
Probably the biggest answer to prayer that we ever had was for us to have children.
Wow.
You know, like many couples, we got married and thought, you know, we'll just have kids whenever we decide we're ready. And so we began that process of trying and it didn't happen. And it was almost 6 years before we were able to get pregnant. And, you know, for those who struggle with that, I identify so much with, you know, with that. And love to pray for people who are, you know, in the process of trying to have kids and want to have kids. And I know in a lot of cases the Lord, for whatever reason, doesn't answer that prayer for some, but we were very thankful that he answered it for us. We had a group of friends, a dear friend named Pam, who said she wanted to organize some ladies to pray for us. You know, because it had been a lengthy process. We'd gone to see infertility doctors. We had done, you know, a lot of things. And so she said, I'm going to get 14 ladies, and we're going to cover every day of the week, and we're going to pray, you know, nonstop for you guys to have a child. And so they began praying at the beginning of, I think it was 1992. And so at that point we thought, let's just stop with seeing the infertility doctor. We're just going to see, you know, let the Lord, you know, take care of this. And one of the ladies, an older lady in the group, came to me and she said, has the Lord told you when you're going to have a child? And I was like, no. And she said, well, I feel like the Lord told me you would in February of 1993. And I was like, okay, you know, that, I mean, I was, you know, I would take that. And so, so we really were thinking that we realized at some point. So
were you a person of faith? I mean, was your faith that good at that point? Or were you more like Sarah and you were like, well, that'd be nice, but.
Well, no, I was really kind of holding on to it.
Wow.
I realized at some point that by February we wouldn't, well, no, after she told me, I was counting, you know, like 9 months back, you know, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to, you know, figure that the Lord's going to answer this prayer. I'll be pregnant by, you know, this point. And so we were just hanging in there praying, and then everybody was praying for us. Well, that month came, and then I discovered I was not pregnant. And so it was really difficult. And I know it was, even though he didn't communicate with me that much, it was very hard for David as well. And so at the end of that month, he was actually preaching a sermon at Renolda. And in the sermon, he shared about how hard some things had been and how the Lord had ministered to him. Of course, I'm thinking, well, he didn't tell me that. But anyway, at that point, I knew that there was a slim chance that I might be pregnant. But when you try for so long, you don't want to allow yourself to think, that could be. But I thought, I'm just going to go find out. So I didn't even tell David. So the next day I went, and the doctor's office said, you're pregnant. So,
Wow.
And the neat thing was, we had just decided, after I had discovered I wasn't pregnant, we thought we're going to go back to the infertility doctor, and we were going to try the stronger, shots that you can get, and so they had already given us all the supplies and taught David how to give me the shots.
Oh, gosh.
And everything else. And so we got to return all that. And the due date for Anna was actually in March of '93, but I was like, there's no way that she's not coming in February, and she did.
She came in February.
February 22nd.
Wow.
So the Lord answered that and that dear sweet woman who had been praying for us had actually passed away before we found out we were pregnant.
Oh.
And so, but I know she knows. And so the Lord really blessed us with Anna and then with Matthew. And so I do have a heart because of that for praying for people that want to have kids.
That's neat.
So.
Yeah, sometimes God uses our own journey and then turns that into ministry opportunities for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, church family, we're so glad that you joined us, and hope you'll tune in next week for another episode of I'd Like to Get to Know You. Beth, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.